Hello again, welcome back, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch Hello Good Game. Today, we are looking at the 15 most powerful cards within Strixhaven. In my opinion, and these will be in no particular order, but at this power level, I'm not sure they need to be. If you find any value within today's video, it would mean the world to me if you could hit that thumbs up button to show your support. With that being said, let's get into the video and take a look at the 15 most powerful cards within Strixhaven. Thankfully, we've got Liliana here to back us up. And remember, these cards are in no particular order, but they are what I would declare the 15 most powerful cards right now, also noting that we have a few cards left to spoil within the season. Vanishing Verse, 2 mana, Origin of Colors, 1 white, 1 black, exile target monocolored permanent. Wow. So, at first glance, you're like, well, multicolored decks exist. Yes, they do, but they still run monocolored permanents. For example, I run Esper Garuda. This has Midnight Clock in the deck. Midnight Clock is a monocolored permanent that I can now easily exile if my opponent is playing that deck. This goes, across the board. It's at instant speed. We can take care of Shark Typhoon. We can take care of the Great Henge. We can take care of Amber Cleave, the new Liliana. There are so many great cards to use with Vanishing Verse, and I think the control aspect of Strixhaven is looking quite formidable. Moving on, we have Malvinda, Student's Advocate, and you'll have to pardon my pronunciation here. This is the first time I'm going through some of these cards. Well, I guess it would be second time now. Anyways, this is a 2/3 for 3 with flying. Not so great. However, you may cast a target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that spell doesn't target a creature you control, it costs 8 more mana to cast this way. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead and activate this ability only once each turn. That's once on your turn. That's once on your opponent's turn. That in itself is amazing when you're paying 0 for spells. Yeah, sure, we can cast some heavy spells. Something that comes to mind that we'll talk about later is Magma Opus. This is a 8 CMC that you can target yourself. Any of the commands will target yourself. And I know we haven't shown a lot of these cards that I'm referencing. I'm hoping that you guys can take the initiative and open up a browser and look through them, because it would just be, like a 3-hour-long video, and we're not getting into all of the different strategies and synergies here. That's what opening day is for, if you want to see some of the decks that we'll be making, the theory crafting that goes on, etc. But, for right now, Sublime Epiphany, you're countering, you're doing all this stuff, and you're making a token of a copy of, one of your creatures or whatever, right? So there's so many things that you can utilize that copy your creatures. It's kind of ridiculous. And if I open up my notes here that I should post for you guys as well, I'm actually just going to show my notes on screen for you guys here. Where are we? Oh, Sublime Epiphany, Magma Opus, Lorehold, and Silver Quill commands, Semester's End as well. So there's a lot of really cool cards that would be cast for 0 instead of their normal CMC. And one of the most consistent, I think, will be the Magma Opus, because you can easily discard it from your hand. You can also use something like the Seasoned Hallowblade to be discarding. We're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. The Seasoned Hallowblade is really going to shine within Strixhaven, I feel like, through the discard effect, gaining indestructible. So the Student's Advocate, I absolutely love it. Having to target yourself typically is meant to, withhold that power, so you can't just be free casting ultimatums. But, some of those ultimatums, you do target something, and, target player on the Jeskai ultimatum, right? Target player draws 5 cards. That's you, right? Sublime Epiphany, counter target permanent. That's you. While still having all of those other effects on the back end. So we can really kind of work our way around it. But without getting too excited, let's keep making forward momentum into Harness Infinity. Oh my gosh. This is a 7 CMC instant spell. So, the power value here is insane. The last time I think we seen a 7 CMC instant speed Golgari was Casualties of War. I'm pretty sure it was 7. And, you know, that card blew up the meta for a while. So I've got high hopes for Harness of Infinity. Again, at instant speed, exchange your hand and your graveyard, exiling Harness Infinity. Woof. We see a lot of mill, and you can be gaining a huge hand. Now, there's some downsides to this. You do have to discard your hand at the end of your turn, right? Sure. However, we can mitigate this with Requiem Tower. I can't even say it. Pulling up my notes. Reclory Tower. I cannot pronounce it. So if you can get that in play, you know, Fancy of Folies. There's many other options. I resolved Seagate as well to give you no maximum hand size. That's what we're looking for. And it's a colorless land, the tower, which I'm struggling to reference here, which will do that effect for you. And, you know, that's great for the deck, or what deck this will be in, of course. And I'm sure we'll see those two cards played together. And if we can dodge, you know, Elspeth's Nightmare, any graveyard exile, or you know, like clearing out of the graveyard, you know, that's going to be fire. If you can draw 7 to 20 cards in your hand and not have to discard any, you know, that's going to be an overtime win for you. Moving on, we have the Silver Quill Silencer. And now I do need to bring this up because it's in Japanese. It's a human cleric for 2. Again, Orgeov colors, 1 black, 1 white. As Silver Quill Silencer enters the battlefield, choose a non-land card name. And whenever an opponent casts a spell with the chosen name, that opponent loses 3 life and you draw a card. So basically, this is helping protect us from everything that we don't like. I feel like it's going to be underrated when it enters the meta, but by the time, you know, that late meta rolls around, even post-rotation, this is going to be a staple mark. It's going to shut down all the decks I hate. So, sorry Ultimatum, sorry Ugin, you're going to have to not play with those cards in your deck anymore. And any combo deck, really, for that matter, you can take that combo piece and they're going to really struggle to do anything from that point. So I love the Silver Quill Silencer. And again, this is the Japanese reveal here because we're so early into everything. Next up, the Ecological Appreciation. Now, this card is a banger. It's a little expensive for X plus 3 at sorcery speed. Search your library and graveyard for up to 4 creature cards with different names that each have mana value X or less, and reveal them. An opponent chooses 2 of those cards, shuffles them back into your library, and puts the rest into the battlefield. XL Ecological Appreciation. Woof, woof, woof. So, for 9 mana, we can pull a Burning Rune Demon. We can pull the Lorehold Dragon, right? These are massive value creatures to be pulling. Vorinclex as well. Garuda. There's going to be a lot of different combinations that we can use with Ecological Appreciation that will work incredibly well. Sorcery speed, a bit of a bummer, but you know, that's why Vorinclex has haste, right? That's why Rune Demon and Garuda have the ETB effect, and even the Lorehold Dragon has haste as well, which brings you into another free cast. So, you know, that may be expensive for 9 mana. What's 9 mana in 2021 in MTG, right? Just press the ramp button, play 3 land a turn, and boom, there you go. Turn 6, pop off and win the game. So I really like this card. I think it's going to be around a little bit and probably really annoying. Moving on, we have a double whammy of Will, Scholar of Frost, and Rowan, Scholar of Sparks. You know, this card, I think, again, might not be super overwhelming on opening day. People are going to be looking at other things. However, once things settle down, I'm pretty sure this is going to be in some annoying Jeskai decks and Izzet control decks. Instants and sorceries that you cast cost 1 less to cast on each of the planeswalkers. Again, this is an MDFC, so we get to choose which enters play, which is cool because we can run 4 of a kind, not worry about the doubles, and then just, you know, we get to play 1 of each. That's great. Those sorcery reductions will stack. So if we get both of them in play, 2 less to cast, which will be pretty cool. Will has a +1 to give up to 1 target creature base power and toughness 0-2 until your next turn. This will just shut down your opponent's attackers so they can't attack you. -3, draw 2 cards. -7, exile up to 5 target permanents. For each permanent exile this way, its controller creates a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. This is great. It's too bad those tokens don't have haste. However, if it's a control deck and that's your win con, it does the job. You can be using artifacts, enchantments, lots of those are available to us within a stacks deck. And if we can create them all into 4/4s, that's basically like dancing the mats. Of course, those things don't even have to be in the grave. They can still be in play, which is great. And of course, Rowan's Scholar of Sparks, +1, deal 1 damage to each opponent. And if you've drawn 3 or more cards this turn, 3 damage to each opponent instead. Not great. It's a little bit, just some chip damage. Drawing 3 cards to deal 3 damage still, even though it's maybe you remove a creature. It's not great. It's there though. And -4, you get an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may pay 2 if you do copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. Woof, woof, woof. That's a very good emblem. We've not talked about it yet, but we have a card, Casmia, that can give other planeswalkers her abilities, and we can now use a +2 on Rowan because that's a thing, and then immediately get to that -4 emblem. So there's going to be lots of really cool interactions. Not only within these cards as a staple mark within the past meta decks that we've seen. I feel like this goes great in many control decks. But again, I think it's going to have really cool synergies that we see with new cards and probably haven't even discovered yet. So moving on, let's get into the goods of Professor Onyx. Liliana, what are you doing? Why is your name changed? 5 loyalty, 6 CMC, Magecraft static ability or passive ability. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Wow. That kind of sounds like an emblem ability, but it's just on play immediately. Cool. That can win you games all in itself. +1, I believe. My cursor's in the way. Yeah, +1. You lose 1 life. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. It's fine. It does the do. It's gonna help you get through your library, and of course you're plussing your Liliana, which is our main objective here. -3. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls. Just hard removal, still very nice. You can enter it and remove a creature. If they only had a creature, now you get a free turn to get the plus abilities rolling, which is great. Re-establish some protection or counter magic. And finally, -8. Each opponent may discard a card. If they don't, they lose 3 life. Repeat this process 6 more times. Oh my gosh. Last time I checked, 6 times 3 is 18 damage, which is insane. And what this combos with? My little friend Vorinclex, which has haste, and I'm sure with that haste trample combination, it's going to get you that extra 2 damage. Again, this being said, your opponent would need an empty hand. Of course, they can discard to mitigate 3 damage of that 18 at a time, but Vorinclex is doing 6, and maybe you've got some damage in already through the early parts of the game. So I just see that the Magecraft ability for the damage plus the -8, and it's got even just general removal. I think Professor Onyx is a very, very good planeswalker, and we're going to see that all over the place. Moving on, Velamarcus Lorehold. Now, we referenced this earlier when we were talking about Ecological Appreciation, right? Pulling it out with that, which is great because it's got Flying, Vigilance, and Haste. It's a 5/5 for 7 mana if you have to hardcast it, which you can still ramp into the old-fashioned way. Whenever Velamarcus Lorehold attacks, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value less than or equal to Velamarcus Lorehold's power from among them without paying its mana cost, with the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it's got haste, it's immediately attacking. You get to drop that ability right out of the gate. This works really good with a couple spells like Return of the Wild Speakers. This is going to allow you to draw 5 cards immediately, refilling your hand. Okay, we also have Rise to Glory, bringing stuff back from our graveyard and into our hand, which is great. And of course, Draconic Intervention, just wiping the field, doing 4 damage to non-dragons. This is just going to be amazing for us as well if we are not worried about our own field. Of course, one of the better ones as well would be the Lorehold Command for 5 mana as well. dealing a bunch of shenanigans for us. So, I really like Velamarcus Lorehold. I think it's a good creature, and I think, people are going to be trying to break this right away. Moving on, we have another double whammy here with an Awaken the Blood Avatar and Exodus Auric Overlord. I'm most excited about the Blood Avatar. It's an 8 CMC sorcery. Very expensive. However, as an additional cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. Okay. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. Create a 3/6 black and red avatar creature token with haste, and whenever this creature attacks, it deals 3 damage to each opponent. Nope. So let's, theory craft here for a second. Maybe we get ultra lucky. We turn 1 Scorpion, turn 2 more Scorpions, turn 3 you play Awaken the Blood Avatar, you sack 3 Scorpions. The first Scorpion got to attack, so you did 1 damage there. Then you sacrifice the 3 Scorpions, you gain 6 life, deal 6 damage. Total is now at 7. Plus you get a 3/6 in play that attacks for 3, you're at 10. Plus the 3 damage triggers, you're now at 13 damage on turn 3. Plus you're going to have 1 spare mana left over to have some fun with, which is pretty cool. So I think that the Awaken the Blood Avatar, even though it's quite expensive, I think it's going to see play for sure, at least in some of those weird Mardu decks. However, we also have Exodus Auric Overlord for 4 mana. It's a 2/4 with double strike. Base value here is not bad. It's a great target for Maul the Skyclaves. Really, any form of flying or trample will get you there. Of course, menace as well. These are all different types of evasion to get you around your opponent's blockers. It has Magecraft as well, and whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, return target non-legendary creature from your graveyard to your hand. The general recursion there is absolutely amazing. And you know what cards we might want to return back to our hand from the graveyard? Oh, I don't know. How about the creatures that we sacrificed earlier on in the game to cast Awaken the Blood Avatar? So you might have these backwards where you're like, wow, Awaken the Blood Avatar late game, Overlord early game. No. Flip them around. We want to cast one on turn 3, and we want to cast the other on turn 4. Yeah. And then afterwards, instant sorceries. Bring those Scorpions back to the hand, replay them, and maybe we can get some more damage in that way. So I really like both Exodus and Awaken. I think they're pretty cool. I think they're more specific, but, something a little less specific here and just good all around. The Vanderbilt War Singer, 3 mana, 3/3, Vigilance Trample, already pretty good stats. Whenever Vanderbilt War Singer deals combat damage to a player, you may return target creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of damage that was dealt to that player. Oh my god. So, this may, it's dropped so early and you'll have nothing to bring back and play. My Kidlets. Season Hallowblade. Tap, discard, indestructible, right? And then the War Singer brings whatever you discarded back, whether it be an Alced, a Selfless Savior, Luminarch Aspirant if there's no blockers on the Singer. He could bring a 3/3 back or a 3 CMC. Whether, he could bring a Skyclave Apparition from the grave back into play for free. So there's some really crazy things that we could do here with the Vanderbilt War Singer, and I'm really excited to see how some of this plays out. I'm even excited for Fireblade Charger, stuff like this. So, one of my more competitive picks so far today. Moving on, we have the Magma Opus for 8 mana at instant speed, dealing 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. This is great because we're talking about the targeting earlier. As long as it targets a creature you control, it can be free. We can deal 1 damage to a creature we control, or we can tap 1 permanent that we control. Of course, this could be, artifacts and stuff that typically don't matter if they get tapped. Very high value for casting it for free with the big old bird friend that we previously mentioned. 4 damage divided as we choose any targets. Tap 2 target permanents, create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token, and then draw 2 cards. Wow. So this is pretty cool. Away from the bird casting it for free from the grave, which is amazing because we can discard it for 2 to create a treasure token. So ramping and that. But we also have the beloved, what's it called? Ifrit Flame Singer, Flame Painter. The Ifrit Flame Painter is absolutely amazing. And, you know, you can instant speed this. The Ifrit will allow you to cast it for free as well. So check into that cool combo. And, you know, opening day, we're going to be doing a lot of that shenanigans. So I love the Magma Opus. I think that's going to see a lot of play. Yeah. Talking about seeing a lot of play, the Wandering Anarch, or Archaic? Yeah, Wandering Archaic, I think. I don't know. A 4/4 creature avatar for 5 mana, a little bit expensive, and we forgot to grab the backside of it, which we'll grab for you guys in a second. But whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, they may pay 2. If they don't, you may copy that spell, and you may choose new targets for the copy. What? Whoa. So yeah, sure, 5 mana, it's expensive, but what happens when we ramp into it? Then what are you gonna do? What happens when we've got Ugin a couple turns after? Then what are you gonna do? Because this is a colorless spell, mind you, right? It goes perfectly in my mono red Ugin deck. It goes perfectly in any Ugin deck, let's be honest. And I'm really excited to see what this has to offer for us. So let me pull up that really, really quick for you guys. We'll just go set STX, pull this over, and I'm just gonna price. That's a good way to sort it. It's that right. It's right at the top. And then if we flip this over, we have. I don't know if you guys can see this. Yeah, perfect. Sorcery speed for 3. Each player looks at the top 5 cards of their library and reveals a land card and or instant or sorcery card from among them, then puts that revealed card into their hand and the rest in the bottom of their library in a random order. Each player gains 3 life. So, you know, this is kind of risk it for the biscuit. I could see this, you know, being good if you had counter magic up and you knew that they couldn't do anything, which, you know, brings us right back into countering everything unless they pay 2. And so what if we had a control battle with this in play? They play something, we counter it, they have to counter our counter, and now they have to pay an additional 2 to counter that counter, and if they can't, we counter their counter. And this kind of will just replay, and we're just taxing them every single time. So again, the Wandering Archaic, I think, is a great card, and I'm really looking forward to playing more of that. Quickly pulling up my notes here to see if I had anything else written about the Archaic, because it is just such a beast. I don't even see it. Ugin's new best friend. That's what I have right now. Oh my gosh. So, you know, this card, again, colorless, kind of tips it over the edge for me. You know, you have the Solemn Simulacrum, again, that you're ramping with here as well. Moving on to a card we referenced earlier, Tasmania, Enigma Sage for 3 mana, 2 loyalty when it enters. It has a static or passive ability to give each other planeswalker we control the loyalty abilities of this card, Tasmania, Enigma Sage, plus 2 scry 1. Now that's the key thing for me, whether you're playing standard or historic. I know I don't focus on historic a lot, but plus 2 scry 1. Narset, who doesn't have a plus ability, just got herself a plus ability. So that is in itself game changer. In standard, that plus a 2 ability is still very, very good. It allows us to work into our ultimates. We looked at Rowan, Scholar of Sparks, and that gets us to her emblem right away. It gets us to Narset's emblem, the ancient one, or the ancient ways. So there's a lot of really cool things that we could do here. We could also flip that equation around, use it within more of a control style deck, and get another planeswalker ready to minus, right? We get a relevant planeswalker to -8. Then we play the Sage. We use the -8 on the other planeswalker because there's only 2 loyalty on this planeswalker because they have Casmia's loyalties. And we free cast an ultimatum, right? We free cast, something ridiculous from our deck, which is a lot of fun. And we already took a look at some of those things that we could be taking advantage of today. So that is my top list of cool cards that you guys should be playing with. We went through them all. We talked about the Wandering Anarch. Of course, we just talked about Casmania. We talked about Magma Opus. We talked about Vanderbilt War Singer, which I absolutely love. The Awaken the Blood Avatar and Exodus Overlord. You know, probably not being played in a lot of decks, but in the decks they do get played with, it could be annoying. Velamarcus Lorehold. I think this will see play in a lot of decks, and it's going to be a meta breaker for sure. Professor Onyx, you know, this is going to be silly powerful. Also, a lot of these cards are just so good. Rowan and Will, you know, maybe not the most fun looking, but I think that they do hold a lot of value once we get to the bottom of it. Ecological Appreciation. I absolutely love this card. Yes, it's expensive, but we've got plenty of ramp, and when you do get it to pop off, like grabbing a Burning Ruin Demon and a Lorehold or a Vortex and a Garuda, like these are some answers that your opponent probably won't be able to deal with. The Silver Quill Silencer. Again, probably not seeing play right away because the meta is going to be all over the place. We don't have the decks locked down. But when the meta gets really, you know, solidified, then this deck or this card will come into its full potential and shut down some of those annoying decks. The Infinity Harness, again, you play it with the Tower for no maximum hand size or any no maximum hand size, and you should be laughing there if it resolves and they don't have Graveyard Hate. Student's Advocate, I love, you know, just free casting from our grave is insane. And we took a look at, of course, Vanishing Verse. So let me know which one of these cards was your favorite today. What do you think is the most powerful? Were there any on this list that you didn't find or didn't find? If you didn't found, whatever. If you didn't think it fit, let me know what could have taken its place if you do have that criticism. And of course, thank you guys so much again for taking the time out of your day to watch Hello Good Game. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, support my channel on Patreon through Into the AM, Grey Viking Games, you know, all of the affiliate links which you can find in the Linktree link. Just Google Hello Good Game Linktree to get all of the latest goodies. And of course, do enjoy yourselves with another video on me.